Thank you for joining me. This is a short video just to help you replicate the positioning that we achieved in the clinic in order to help facilitate your baby's latching. I am a firm believer that babies are meant to breastfeed independently with minimal support from their mother. And if we put the baby in a good position, then everything will just slot in together. So if you can, it is really important to try not to influence what your baby does, but to facilitate that position to allow your baby to do the work. Hopefully you will have had a good feed in clinic following the frenulotomy. But if you're approaching this for the first time, the advice is just the same as I would have given you in clinic. It is most important to start with where you're going to feed your baby. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm sat at a desk, but you would need to find somewhere comfortable that you could do a slightly reclined position to help gravity help your baby. Get yourself wearing as little fussy clothing as possible, thick jumpers and such like, just get in the way. So if necessary, come down to your bare chest to help the baby feed in the privacy of your home. My baby isn't anything like as pretty as your baby, but for the purposes of the demonstration, she has to do. Get yourself comfortable, semi-reclined. Obviously have a baby that's beginning to wake up, stir, be interested in feeding. If your baby is crying, it's always a really good idea to calm the baby down first. And most babies will calm if placed on the mother's chest and supported, because this is a great place for babies to start with breastfeeding anyway. I'm just going to lower my desk down so you can get a better view of what's going on. All right. If you're at home, your baby, once they start to wake up, will start moving the body around, bobbing around, looking for the breast. And most babies, if left to it, will wiggle down and fling themselves across towards one side or the other. But for the purposes of this, I'm just going to cut to the chase and go through the basics of step-by-step positioning so that the baby can attach. So hopefully you can see me. First thing I would suggest you do is whatever breast you're going to feed the baby on, put the baby in that same arm. Put the baby in the arm so the baby's comfortably supported. Most important, this arm here often sits in front of the baby. So tuck it underneath your armpit and out of the way, and just drop your elbow down just so that it kind of not pins the arm down but stops the baby sliding that hand back up. Babies do not like to feed on their backs and turning in towards the breast. So just turn your baby towards you next so that the head and the shoulders and the bottom are nicely in alignment. This is the bit that most mums are taught a different way. You'll get what I mean in a minute. Very often it'll be a case of lifting the breast of the baby, very much like you'd give a baby a bottle. But if you can, let the breast lie in its natural plane or slightly supported with a rolled up muslin or a nappy. So once you've got your baby turned towards you, the next trick is to let the baby come down low so that the baby is almost either using a knee to sit on the hip or the bottom is actually on the hip, depending on how big your baby is. I'm obviously a big lady, so this doesn't work terribly well for me, but just the diagonal is the important bit. In this position, I'll turn around this way, the baby then instinctively starts to root, so they bob around looking for the breast, and at this point what they tend to do is lift their head back over your forearm and get a big gape in the mouth. It's when the baby does that head lift and looks up to the breast and opens the mouth wide, that's the time you want to bring the baby to the breast. I don't want you bringing your shoulder forward and trying to give it to the baby, because that upsets the dynamics. So the best thing to do is just with a couple of fingers behind the baby's shoulder blades, is as the baby is lifting the head up and opening the mouth, using a bit of pressure, bring the baby in so the baby can feel the breast. And if you can, this is where being slightly reclined helps that baby, because gravity helps the baby place onto the breast. You should have to do no more than this, because what should happen is the baby should locate the breast, take a big mouthful and start to draw it deep into their mouths. Now, the good thing about this position is this is a really neutral position for you. And I say it has to be neutral for you because you really want to relax those shoulders. A lot of mummies I see come in and they're feeding their baby like this and their shoulders are up by their ears because they're holding on and holding the baby on and trying to maintain that latch because the baby's unable to do so. But once the baby has had a tongue-tie division, that baby should be able to get a nice deep suction on the breast and be able to feed more effectively. So rather than bringing the baby on and risking stopping that baby's head lifting back and causing a restriction with your fingers, by putting the baby in your forearm, that baby has got complete freedom but nice support. And in this position, you can neutralise and relax and just let the baby do what the baby needs to do. And if you lean back slightly, it's more sustainable for the baby and less carrying the weight of the baby. Because as you can see, I've taken the hands away. I don't recommend you do this at home. But I've taken the hands away and the baby's not moved because the baby's using my body like a scaffold. And that's what your baby will do for you. If you allow the baby just to feed, once your baby's finished, your baby has the ability to just detach. And if your baby is nice and relaxed and sleepy and milk drunk, then my recommendation at that point would be to wing the baby, sitting the baby in an upright position to allow the air that's in the stomach a clear passage up and out. A lot of mums will put baby over their shoulder, but in this position, that air cannot come out through the shoulder blades. And very often, as it's forced along the diagonal, it brings up milk with it. So if you're going to hold the baby up, my recommendation is hands under the arms and just peel the baby onto your upper body. If you've got a muslin, protect your clothing first. Hand behind the back and just support the baby and allow that air to naturally come up. What tends to happen at this point is that there's a lot of back rubbing and patting. Really has nothing to do with the baby, it's just a way of us passing time. It's the position that the baby's in will facilitate that air just to come up by itself, even if you did nothing, just sat there. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Do replay as much as possible until you get it in your head, and obviously if you continue to have feeding problems, the best thing to do is just to give me a call. If you can, use my landline that comes to my home, leave a message and then I can get back to you in a most convenient time. Okay, thanks very much.